So, what's the real difference between a warehouse that's just a massive cost center and one that's actually a competitive advantage? Well, it turns out there's a science to it. We've been digging into an expert seminar on this very topic, and we're going to break down the core principles of what makes a great warehouse tick. We'll look at the flow of goods, how to handle inventory, and the tech that ties it all together. Let's jump in. And this is really the first question you've got to ask yourself. A warehouse that's humming along smoothly, that can be your single biggest asset, the heart of your supply chain. But a poorly run one, oh man, it's just a drag on everything. It adds cost, it adds complexity, it causes delays. So take a second and really think about it. Which one do you have? Before we go any further, let's get on the same page about what a warehouse even is. At its absolute core, it's just a buffer. That's it. It exists to smooth out the bumps between when you get your products and when your customers actually want them. And the whole game, the entire point, is to manage that buffer as efficiently as you possibly can. To really get this, we're going to build the perfect warehouse together, right here, from scratch. We'll start with a physical skeleton, how stuff actually moves through the building. Then we'll figure out where to put all the inventory inside that skeleton. And finally, we'll add the brain, the people, the data, and the systems that make the whole thing smart. Okay, part one, physical flow. This is all about the big picture, the actual design of the space. It's the foundation that dictates how everything and everyone is going to move around. The first and maybe most important rule comes straight out of lean management. You have to minimize touches. See, every single time a product gets picked up, moved, and put back down, it costs you. It costs you time, it costs you money, and maybe worst of all, it's another chance for something to get damaged or lost. The goal is to make that product's journey from A to B as simple and direct as possible. And check out the difference this makes in the real world. A typical average warehouse might handle a single product 7 or even 8 times, but a really lean, efficient one, they can get that down to just 3 or 4. I mean, that's cutting your handling in half. Think about what that does for your labor costs, your speed, and your error rates. It's huge. All right, principle number 2 is all about creating a clear one-way flow. This makes everything simpler and safer, from the paths your pickers walk inside to the way trucks move around outside. And here's a fascinating little detail. In Australia, trucks are supposed to move clockwise around a building. Why? So the driver's side is closer to the dock, making it easier to reverse in. But in the USA, it's the opposite. It's counterclockwise. So how do you get that nice, clean, one-way flow? Well, it usually comes down to one of these 3 basic layouts. The U shape is super common because it's the most economical use of land. The I shape, or flow-through, is perfect for high-volume places where goods come in one end and go straight out the other. And the L shape is great for operations like cross-docking. The real secret isn't just picking one, but picking the layout that perfectly matches what you're trying to do. Okay, so we've got the physical layout down. Now we need to talk about the stuff inside the building. That brings us to part 2, mastering your inventory. This is all about smart placement. And this is exactly why it's so important, 20 to 30%. That's how much you can potentially slash your labor costs just by putting your products in the right spot, what the pros call slotting. It's a massive saving, and it pretty much all comes from one simple thing, making sure your people don't have to walk as far to get the most popular items. And the main concept to get this right is called the triadic warehouse. Now, it sounds complicated, but it's actually dead simple. You just divide your warehouse into 3 zones based on how fast products sell. The fast movers go in the easiest to reach zone, the slow movers go way in the back, and the medium stuff goes, well, in the middle. I mean, you can just see the difference, can't you? In the triadic model, the path to get the most common stuff is short and direct. In a non-triadic, random layout, it's a tangled mess. This brings us to probably the most important rule of inventory placement. Organize your products by how fast they move, not by what type of product they are. Okay, so your products are in the right spot. How do you physically move them? This little chart is a great way to think about it. It balances 2 things: volume, how much stuff you're moving, and complexity, which is how many different products or SKUs you have. Down in the bottom left, with low volume and just a few products, a basic forklift is probably fine. But as you move up and to the right, high volume, thousands of different SKUs, that's when you really need to start investing in serious mechanization. But listen, a great layout and smart inventory placement, they're kind of useless without the intelligence to actually run the whole operation. And that brings us to our third and final part, the people, the data, and the systems. This is the brain that makes sure all those great strategies actually work day to day. This quote from the seminar is probably one of the most important takeaways of all. Think about it. If you design your warehouse to handle your average day, you've also designed it to fail 50% of the time, because half your days are, by definition, busier than average. You have to use real data to plan for your peaks, not some fantasy average that doesn't exist. And to manage for that reality, you need to be tracking the right numbers. These are like the vital signs for your warehouse's health. You have to be measuring key benchmarks, things like lines picked per labor hour to see how productive your team is, or dispatch accuracy to measure quality. You simply can't improve what you don't measure. The tool that wrangles all this data and directs the work on the floor, that's your warehouse management system, or WMS. It really is the brain of the operation. It tracks every item, assigns every task, and makes cool tech possible, like voice picking, where your team wears headsets that literally tell them where to go and what to grab, hands-free. But all the tech in the world isn't a silver bullet. And this last principle is one of the most powerful and one of the simplest. Talk to your people. The expert who ran this seminar said he talks to everyone, from the managing director all the way to the forklift drivers and the receptionist. Why? Because the people who do the job every single day have insights that you will never, ever find on a spreadsheet. All right, so we've looked at the physical flow, the inventory strategy, and the systems that run it all. So what's the big secret? What's the formula for the perfect warehouse? Let's put it all together. It really just boils down to these three pillars. You need the right layout for your physical space, you need a super efficient process for how goods flow through it, and you need the appropriate level of technology to manage it all. But here's the trick. The magic isn't in maxing out any one of these. The magic is finding the perfect balance between all three for your specific business. And that brings us right back to where we started. Your warehouse is a buffer. It's this dynamic space between what you have and what your customer wants. So after everything we've talked about, the final question is pretty simple. Is your buffer actually built for peak performance, or is it still just a box full of stuff?